Thank you, President Miller, Angela, neighbor members, friends. It's good to be with you today. I'm excited to be with you today. It's good that my wife, Amy, can be here with us as well. Amy and I celebrated 18 years of marriage last month, and she'd be the first to tell you that living with me for the last 18 years has been a lot of work. In preparation for today's meeting, I looked at some data and talked to some stakeholders in your industry. And of course, I wanted to have a meeting with Angela. And so we met last month for about 45 minutes. And the first 30 minutes of the meeting were very informative. I learned the names of every pet that's available for adoption in the Northwest Florida area. Yeah. Well, actually, after meeting with Angela, who does have her finger on the pulse of the real estate community, obviously, and meeting with stakeholders and looking at the data, I've got something to share with you that may come as a little bit of a surprise. It's a pretty good time to be in the real estate business. Property values are up. Rental values are up. New home starts are up. It's easier for your buyers to get financing. Property taxes remain low, and we are growing at an alarming rate. Santa Rosa County right now is the top 10 fastest growing county in the state of Florida, and our highly ranked school system, our school district is ranked number 6 in the state of Florida for growth. There's no doubt that growth is coming to our community. And you know, our real estate business does have positive momentum, but our community and our county also have positive momentum. And it's that positive momentum and your part that you can play in continuing that momentum is what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. Now, no one knows better than the folks in this room the good news about the fact that we are heading in the right direction. Every time I get the opportunity to speak to this group, I tell you that I believe you're the most influential group in South County. And I don't say that to any other group as far as you know. Now, the trends, the needs, the wants, the desires, the passions, the concerns, the aspirations of our community, it comes to your desks first. You sell, you rent, you finance property for military families only here for a short time. You do the same for local families that have lived here their entire lives. You rented Amy and I our first home on Riverside Landing Drive, and you sold us our first home in Navarre on Copper Reef. That was 14 years ago. Now, at the time, Amy and I didn't have expectations that we would be in the community for 14 years. It was just a stopping point along the way in our career. Now we can't imagine living anywhere else. It has become part of our family's history and our family's story. And like many of you, we decided to stay here because we love the Panhandle values. We love the people, the patriotism. We love the potential and the indescribable beauty and serenity of this place. That's why we decided to stay here. Now, why do I feel that NABOR is so important to the community? Look around you. This room is filled with small business owners, entrepreneurs, and family that are intimately involved with the community more so than anyone else. It was no accident that 4 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, in this very room, I decided to announce my re-election or my election campaign to serve as your county commissioner. Got a little ahead of myself there. It's no coincidence that I'm here again today at a NABOR Luncheon to let you know that right now I'm announcing my re-election campaign to continue serving as your Santa Rosa County Commissioner. I filed the paperwork this morning with the Supervisor of Elections Office, Tappy Pillane. I want to tell you that I'm excited about this campaign. I'm excited about this campaign because I'm excited about the momentum that we have built over the course of the last 2 years, and I'm excited about what is possible for this community. Something to know about momentum, though. Momentum is tough to define. You know what it looks like when you see it, and you know what it looks like when it's happening, but it's tough to define. But you can definitely feel it. Now, how many of you watched the Super Bowl this year? No. Too soon? Sorry, that's what you get for that don't raise their salaries blast right there. Yeah. Baston's happy. That's the type of unity that we've come to know and love right here in Navarre. So those of you that did watch the Super Bowl, you know that with less than 5 minutes left, Julio Jones made one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history. At that moment, there was 4 minutes and 47 seconds left in the game. Atlanta had the ball 1st and 10 at the Patriots' 22-yard line, and they had the momentum. All they had to do was run 3 plays, right? 3 running plays, exhaust the Patriots' timeout, kick a field goal, go up by 2 scores, and the game would be over. But then a series of things happened that changed the momentum. And we all know what happened at the end as a result. I don't know that there's a lot of people that when overtime started, they would have said that they thought Atlanta was going to win the game. Why is that, though? I mean, it was a tie game at that point. It was 0-0. They had the same amount of timeouts. There was no key injuries. You wouldn't think that one team would have the advantage over the other. And yet I don't imagine you'd have a lot of people that would be willing to bet on Atlanta when the overtime started. And that's because the momentum was clearly with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. You could see it and you could feel it. The momentum right now is with this community. You can see it and you can feel it. But it wasn't always that way. How many of you remember what it was like 4 years ago? Did you feel as though your community had positive momentum? Did you feel as though things were heading in the right direction? 4 years ago, the complaints and the concerns were broad-based. They ran the gamut. There was talk of incorporation, lack of accountability, infrastructure issues, incorporation. There was talk of beach beautification and tourism and sidewalks and playgrounds and, did I mention incorporation? Back then, it didn't make a difference what you asked about. Nothing was going right. Now the biggest problem we face is we've got 2 chambers. Back then, folks, the struggle was real, okay? Back then, 4 years ago, did you feel as though anybody was listening to us? Did you feel as though your government was interested in your vision or your plans for the future, or that they were making plans without us? Did you think that your tax dollars were being put to work here in this community or everywhere else? Did you have any evidence of your local elected representative fighting on your behalf in Milton or in Tallahassee or in D.C.? If you're like me, I thought that everywhere else in the county was moving forward while we were getting left behind. Now, why do you think that the complainers are quieter now than they were then? Because of that momentum. Do you remember what Concerned Citizens of Navarre was like 4 years ago? It wasn't divisive. It was downright personal. Now if you log on to Concerns, it's become a place to find lost pets and to ask that compelling question, hey, is that a poisonous snake? What kind of snake is that? Is that one of them there water moccasins? Folks, I can tell you, I walk out my house on my back porch and I see a snake. 1 of 2 things is going to happen, all right? 1, I'm going to try to get as far away from that thing as possible. And 2, if it startles me, I'm probably going to be looking for a clean pair of shorts, okay? What I'm not going to do is hang out and try to identify that sucker. I'm out. Those complainers and those folks from 4 years ago when the struggle was real, they're quieter now because of the momentum we've had, the momentum that we have. And that's because we are a changed community and county from the one that we had when I addressed you nearly 4 years ago today. Now, how did that happen? Was it just luck? Did the cosmic community improvement lottery shine upon us and just good things started to happen? Within 2 months of taking office, I surveyed the members of this community and I asked you what improvements you wanted to see for your community. And the results of that survey became my to-do list. You told me what change you wanted. But as is typical for NABOR, big change is what you wanted. You didn't want small improvements. You wanted big improvements, big change. You know, we've got a new slogan that was just unveiled a couple days ago. NABOR Beach, the Florida Panhandle's friendliest place? No, most relaxing place. I apologize. Most relaxing place. It probably should be NABOR Beach. Go big or go home. I knew that the changes that you were asking for were probably going to put a target on my back. Because here's the thing about change. Change is uncomfortable, right? Change invites criticism. Okay, I see some of you don't think that maybe change invites criticism. For those of you who don't think that change invites criticism, after the meeting today, here's what I want you to do. Go home and rearrange all of the clothes in your spouse or significant other's dresser. Take their toothbrush, put it in another drawer in the house, and change the brand of toilet paper you're using. And then give me a call in a couple of days and tell me if you don't think that change invites criticism. I can tell you that there's one constant when it comes to leadership, especially as I'm finding out when it comes to elected leadership, and that is that change always accompanies criticism. When you challenge the good old boys and girls, you're going to invite criticism. When you disrupt the flow of money for certain special interests, you will definitely invite criticism, okay? This is why most politicians, and especially first-time ever politicians, they don't bring about real or lasting change. Now, sure, all politicians will stand up and they will promise to bring the change that the voters want. I'm your person to deliver that for you. And I even think that a lot of first-time politicians, that they believe that they're going to bring about real change. And then something happens. They get elected. And that's when they find out that everybody says they want change and accountability, right up until that point when change and accountability impacts them. When I took office, this community needed immediate results. We didn't have time for me to wait around being politically correct, because here's the problem. Government bureaucracy and those who are supporters of the status quo, they slow everything down. Everything down. I didn't have time to wait around for government to solve our problems that we had already waited far too long for them to solve. Now, I've made some mistakes as your commissioner trying to bring results too quickly. Absolutely. And if you allow me to continue representing you, I'm going to make more mistakes. Amy can definitely attest to that. Here's what I won't do. Well, I'm going to accept responsibility for my mistakes. I'm going to try to learn from them. I'm going to try to apply what I've learned to be a better service to the organization that I'm serving. And then I'm going to move on. I'm not going to blame others for mistakes that I've made. And I'm not going to use the county commission for an opportunity to make decisions for political advancement over good public policy. Folks, we've got to start rewarding elected leaders who base their decisions on benefiting those who gave them an opportunity to serve, not basing their decisions on those who cut them a campaign check. We need to make sure that we're supporting leaders who make honorable decisions that benefit the community, not their political career or their political advancement. I remember shortly after I got elected, I had the opportunity to, well, you really have the opportunity, you have to do it. It was a mandatory ethics class. We have to take it every year. And I won't be in favor of any type of tax increase. And one of the things that we tried to do when I took office was the budget process. I don't know if you remember, but it was not really conducive to giving you as a, look, it's a room filled with small business owners. You need some kind of guidance on what's going on. People are coming and they're asking you, hey, we're thinking about moving to NABOR. What's the economic climate there like? Are they going to raise taxes? Are things going to be pretty steady? I don't know. We'll find out in August every year. What if you were an employee and you're trying to plan for your family's future and you don't know if you're going to get a raise this year as a county employee? Because the budget process is so quiet and so hidden. It wasn't open. So that was one of the first things that I wanted to see happen is let's start the budget process sooner. Let's start the conversation sooner. And let's be honest with the guidance that we give to our county administrator. So last month, we had the first budget meeting where we provided clear guidance, and that was that there will be no millage increase this year. And at our growth rate, you're exactly right. I don't see where we have a growth problem. We got a spending problem. We need to continue to work on enhancing productivities in our local government. And let's keep in mind that we do an amazing job, our employees do an amazing job considering the rapid growth rate that we have and the services that are being delivered. But right now, I think if you were to ask most folks in the room, they would tell you that they're satisfied with the level of service that they're getting. If they go to the tax collector's office or the DMV, they're not upset about waiting behind 2 or 3 people before they get up there, so they don't need us to hire that extra person. Development services evidently must be executing at a pretty high level because we're growing at a pretty high level. We're selling a lot of houses. We're building a lot of new neighborhoods. So, there's evidence there that we're executing pretty well. I feel it's more of a shift in the way we're spending and that we can do that with the growth that we have. We can give sheriffs, deputies raises in a fiscally responsible way, as we did. And I don't see I'm not going to vote for a millage increase anytime in the foreseeable future. I've always said since day one, the only way I would even entertain a millage rate increase is if there were no meaningful savings to be had and there were no more productivity enhancements that could be brought to bear. In other words, it is the absolute last bullet in the gun. It's so penal to everything. So I don't see it coming anytime soon.
Is that also applicable to the courthouse? Would you support a military increase for the courthouse or not?
The courthouse to me is something that, what is this now? This will be the 5th time we've done this? The exact same thing? And yet we're expecting that there's going to be a different result? Hello? I mean, what's the process been to this point? We evaluate properties, and then we pick a property, and then we determine what services are going to be provided out of it, how big the building's going to be, and then we get a cost, and then we ask the citizens to support a local option sales tax, which they reject, and then we talk about why they rejected it, and then we start looking at properties again. 4 times we've done that, and 4 times we've been unsuccessful. That's why the last time this was brought up a few weeks ago, I suggested, hey, if we want to go through this process again, that's fine, but let's take the local option sales tax off the table. Let's just tell people we are going to go through the process, we are going to select a site and do all those things that we've done before, but then we're going to go ahead and build it. That will force us to not be talking about a $45 or a $50 million building. That's ridiculous. We just need a building that can deliver the services. It's just a building, It's just a building. And the truth is, if I were better at my job, we would probably be building a courthouse right now. I was the one that made the mistake of suggesting that we separate the local option sales tax into 2 half cents. And what it did is it allowed the ability for some to play one against the other. And, that was my mistake. That was my mistake. 410 votes away from us building a new courthouse right now. 410 people decide to vote in favor of downtown instead of against it. We're not having this conversation. So we are unfortunately having this conversation, and I don't think we'll be successful if we do another local option sales tax request, but I'm only 1 vote of the 5, and at this point, I think those that spoke out so passionately against putting the courthouse in downtown and the way that the courthouse would be built and the size of it, I think it's incumbent upon them, now that they've told us what they're not in favor of, to tell us what they are in favor of. Now I think it's time for them to provide solutions. I did my level best to bring solutions. Now it's time for somebody else to bring forward their answers. I'm in favor of the pass. I believe that it would be great for the community. I believe it would be great for our environment. And here's some important things to know as it relates to the past, because you're going to hear a lot of road noise on this issue, okay? There are no studies that are out that show that having a pass would be a negative impact on the national seashore. So I'd like to have those answers, and then maybe we could make some informed decisions. What I'm very encouraged about is that we now have a new congressman that right out of the gates has said, pardon the pun, has said that he is in favor of the pass. And that is something that we really haven't had before now. I had the opportunity to meet with him when I was in D.C. last week, and we're currently working on the fee simple bill legislation that we believe has an opportunity to pass. But here's the difference. We can start pursuing what would be necessary to see if a pass is possible now without waiting for the outcome of fee simple legislation, because we have a congressman that is publicly in support of it. So I don't know if it is going to happen, but I know it's a heck of a lot more likely that it would have a chance to happen now than it did 6 months ago. 20 years ago. So we just need to get the right data out there. It always seemed interesting to me how we would have all of these passes opened around the coastal communities throughout the state of Florida. And I would imagine that if there was a negative impact to neighboring counties, that probably those neighboring counties would have spoken out pretty strongly in opposition against an opening of a pass. And I'm not aware of that happening too often. We have just as much right to access the Gulf of Mexico as Okaloosa County and Escambia County, and I intend to pursue that. In the back with the hat. He looks like, no. Check, please. For those of you off camera, that was Jersey Jerry who just stood up. Now, I'm talking to the gentleman who looks like he's about ready to go play golf at any minute, and I'm very envious of you right now.
Has the county done any kind of traffic count on 98 in the last?
42,000 commuters a day go through Navarre on their way to Okaloosa County daily. It is the most heavily trafficked section of Highway 98 and the most heavily trafficked roadway in the county. A state roadway. Obviously, the interstate would be more than that.
Is the plan for the bypass coming through Eglin still in place?
Here's the thing about the bypass, and these where some of these things get kicked around a lot and they get rejuvenated. Here's the facts about that. The Eglin bypass, or that community access road, the initial plan for that, it was studied. And it was found that a toll road, a 2-lane toll road, would be $500 million with a B. That's a lot of money. It was impossible to make that project cost feasible. You could not charge a high enough toll to return. You basically have a longer Garcon Point Bridge. You could not charge enough toll to make it profitable for the bondholders. So it's not feasible. So sometimes you have good ideas that sound good, but for whatever reason, they're just not going to work. And this is one of those examples. So as I told the Republican Club last night, one of the things that we see happening in our community, and I'm sure you hear about it, the north-south connectors that we have on Highway 98, Whispering Pines, Panhandle Trail, Fox 10, Ortega, all the way down, they're currently being used as a community access road now. The problem is we don't have the protected pedestrian features, the divided highway and the median in the middle. We don't have the road improvements that go along with what they're already being used for. That's why I have met with the district secretary in Chipley and have been working with DOT to do two things. One, separate out the segment of Highway 98 from 87 to Okaloosa County. Break that away from the entire 6-laning project to where we have a better opportunity to get that funded sooner. They've agreed to do that. So now the feasibility study is locked in on that section first. It'll shave 2 years off the project. The second thing is for them to help us with some of these north-south connectors, and the first one we're going to start with is Panhandle Trail, where we're adding in protected pedestrian features. And if folks are going to use that roadway, let's make sure that folks can use it without getting killed. And it'll make our community safer, but it'll also improve the amenities that folks are already using. There are no solutions that anybody is going to like with Highway 98. I mean, we're popular. you know? And the encouraging thing is, the last time I met with the district secretary, which was 3 weeks ago, he told me that Eglin officials had contacted him unsolicited about the fact that they believe it is now an issue with their airmen trying to get home back to our community. There's nothing more positive that we can hear than that. If Eglin gets behind this, you'll see things happen a heck of a lot quicker. All right, one more. Over here.
I participated in a survey about the courthouse. Who did that survey, and do you get the results in that? They actually called my home and asked me specific questions. And basically, in looking in the tax records, I can see that the county owns, it looks like over 180, if not more, parcels of land within the county. And my suggestion was maybe the county should get out of the real estate business and really focus on the county and the people's needs itself instead of buying all these parcels of land that you have in various parts of the county.
Yeah, and I think the study you're talking about is, and who knew that the toughest question would come from my next door neighbor? I mean, didn't see that coming. No, the study you're talking about was something that we didn't request. University of West Florida's Haas Center Research Department, they told us that they wanted to help us, and so they were going to do an unsolicited survey about the courthouse.
Do you get those results?
They said that they would provide us with the results after it was done. I don't know what they were trying to determine, but
They asked very specific questions.
oh, I'm sure they did, but I had nothing to do with it. I found out about it after the fact.
Well, I think you might be able to get your answers from that survey because I was very honest with them what I thought, and their questions were very specific. So you said you were looking for answers within the community as to what you wanted done with the courthouse. I would suggest that that might be a great place to start. And you could always come next door and I'll give you.
Right? This is true. Look, obviously, I'm in favor of surveys. That's one of the first things I did after taking office. You're not going to be able to find out what's important for folks unless you ask them. You know, when I took office, we had a lot of efforts going towards spending pretty much every bit of our recreation dollars on a community center. And when we did the survey, the lowest ranked item of importance for anyone in the community was a community center. We were about to allocate all of our money towards something that people wanted the least. So you have to ask people what's important to them because last time I checked, it's your money. As far as the 180 parcels go, I can't speak for the county as a whole, but I know after taking office, I requested to know what are all the properties that Santa Rosa County owns within District 4 and what are their zoned use. Most of them are wetlands and most of them are not able to be developed, but those that are able to be developed, I'm trying to utilize those, and one of them you heard about recently is the parcels of land adjacent to Holly Airfield that I'm looking to use for additional athletic field space so we can relieve some of the pressure that we have on the football fields and soccer fields here in Navarre. But there's not a lot of land out there that we can use for development of a courthouse. But I am in agreement with you. We don't need to buy any more property to put a judicial center on. We should have more than enough options available to us that either somebody can donate the land or we can use land that we already have. Thank you very much for the opportunity to visit with you today. I'm grateful. 529-2525 is my cell number. There you go. That's my cue. 529-2525 is the cell number. Give me a call if I can be of any service to you. Thank you very much.